Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 13th of September, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Got an absolutely massive show for you guys today. Lots of stuff to talk about here off the rip, from the jump, synonyms. Which one do I want to start with? Hey, I updated the guys over at the shoot-around this yesterday. Let me give you guys an updated number on this, though. So football season is officially back in swing, and I've been forgetting to mention this in real time. I think I've mentioned it in the past, but as it's happening, I forgot to mention this. Mustache season is officially over, much like Brat's the what did she call it? Well, just Brat Summer. Charlie XCX officially said that Brat Summer is over, and so is mustache season because football's back, which means that we have to bring back the football beard. I will not be shaving my face until February, until after the Super Bowl. So, okay, hope you guys enjoyed the mustache. We'll see you next spring. So what comes with that? I've been hammering Biotin since last Wednesday. So the last 8 days, I have taken 7,500 milligrams of Biotin every single day. Which means, as of this recording, in the last 8 days, I have 60,000 milligrams of Biotin coursing through my veins. Should be like a week 4 start for my beard. I think we should be back in the swing of things. It'll look more appropriate here in a couple of weeks. At the very worst, I think the Lions have a bye in week 5, and then I think it's week 6 that they play the Cowboys, but it might be a bye in week 4 and then week 5 the Cowboys. Whichever is the case, I think by the Cowboys game for the Lions is when my beard will officially be back in full swing. So what's the other thing that you're so gosh darn excited to tell us about today, Nick? Oh, man. It is a big day for anybody who has been keeping along at home with the Motown Noah bingo sheet for 2024. Now, if you haven't seen this and you haven't heard about this and you want to go back and listen to the full episode, I think it was episode 18. It's at somewhere in the beginning of the year. The bingo sheet part of it will be in the actual title of the episode. So if you go back, again, I think it's episode 18. It's somewhere in the ballpark there. I'm going to throw it up on screen for you guys so that you can play along because something has happened. I don't know if you've seen this, and I don't know if you've heard about this. Aaron Rodgers has a documentary coming out. We fucking sniped that one. We said this guy is coming off of a ruptured Achilles. Almost, at least we were led to believe, that he almost came back to play in the same season that he tore his Achilles. You're telling me that guy, one of the biggest egomaniacs that we've seen in professional football in, I don't know, 30 years? You're telling me that guy didn't have a camera crew following him? Bullshit. You're telling me in the offseason while he was rehabbing, he didn't have a camera crew following him? Bullshit. He was always going to have a documentary come out. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Coming this December on Netflix, Aaron Rodgers will have a documentary coming out chronicling the rehabilitation of his torn Achilles. A round of applause for the Motown Noah bingo sheet. Now, as you're looking at this, you're probably looking at all the green things. And you're like, okay, so someone famous died. Yeah, I mean, Matthew Perry died. We just had James Earl Jones die. That one was a bit of a bummer. There's a false flag attack somewhere in the world. That one did happen. And then what's the other one? People will learn why the Pistons gave away so much in the Luke Kennard trade. We did learn that. We learned that it was because our cap guy fucked up and the Clippers were mad and we had to throw in a few extra seconds so that the deal didn't get nixed. Obviously, we have the free space. Now, Nick, what's this yellow line under Shohei Ohtani does something that no one has done since 1922? I'm glad that you asked. The reason it's yellow is because we're monitoring it very closely. Shohei Ohtani not only on the precipice of an MVP season, not only about to become the first player, the only player to ever successfully hit 50 home runs and successfully steal 50 bases in the same season. He's on pace to do that. Where he's already at, I think what are the numbers that he's at right now? It's already unprecedented. Where he's at right now with homers and stolen bases, already nobody's done that before, right? But that's not what we're talking about because on the bingo sheet, it is not something that nobody has ever done, right? We want it to be bold and give a specific year. So what are we monitoring? 450 total bases is what we're keeping an eye on. He's at 351 right now. It's like maybe a month-ish left in the regular season for baseball. 450 total bases in a single season has only happened twice ever. The first was Babe Ruth in 1921. And hold on and stay with me. This is going exactly where you think it's going. The last time that somebody hit for 450 total bases in Major League Baseball was Rogers Hornsby in 1922. Okay, so as much as I want to chalk this, God forbid he gets hurt and he doesn't, we just got to let this one play out. But there's a chance that Shohei Ohtani does something that nobody has done since 1922. So, okay, so you look at the rest of the bingo sheet, and some of these we definitely whiffed on. Like the Detroit Lions winning a Super Bowl. You just have to contextualize, like, we made this in January. We were really feeling it. It was a bit of a heat check by me. Obviously, them losing just kind of, it ruins the space for the rest of the year. A disinformation campaign against Bronny James. That one never materialized. I think my logic was sound there. I guess it would have made more sense if there was an actual chance that any other team was going to draft him. Maybe we were led to believe that was going to happen, but let's be real, it was never going to happen. The Las Vegas Sphere displays election results. Might as well chalk that one, right? That's just going to happen. The Pistons trading for somebody that they shouldn't. That didn't happen. Jaden Ivey could still get traded. Someone in the NBA getting canceled. We did hypothesize that would be something election related. So it's keeping a close, watchful eye on that one. So far, everybody's behaved themselves. We just had the presidential debate the other night. I don't think I'm going to have anything on that. It was a waste of 2 hours. We didn't learn anything about either candidate, and nobody was going to change their minds after anything that they said. We did learn that apparently Venezuelan immigrants are eating people's cats. They're eating the dogs. They're eating people's pets. And that, what else did he say? That people are trying to, the Dems, the libs are trying to conduct transgender surgeries on people in prison. What did he say? I laughed out loud when he said it. But anyways, I'm getting away from the point here. What's the closest that we are to a bingo? It's definitely on the top line. I mean, so far we already have 3. Aaron Rodgers has a documentary coming out. The Pistons Kennard trade. Someone famous died. We need Bryan Cranston to have another moment. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know where it's going to be. Does he have anything coming out? I haven't checked his IMDb. Haven't checked it. Is Bryan Cranston going to have another moment? I don't know. We'll see. The Clippers blowing it up. Damn it. I just missed that one. I think we're going to roll that one over into 2025. I think I was a year early. So I don't know if it's going to happen. But I'm happy about this so far. Honestly, if we're 2/3 of the way through the year, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of these have happened, 5 of them will happen, and potentially a 6th with Shohei Ohtani. So okay, not so bad, folks. So okay, let's move on to some emails. copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. I gotta be honest with you up front. There's shit else going on in the world of sports. Again, I don't really want to do a presidential debate recap. Maybe a surprise to some of you out there. I just don't have anything productive to say about it. And so it's going to be an email heavy episode because there was actually a lot from the previous episode that I just didn't have a chance to get to. So we're going to get through the backlog of emails, and then one that we just got in right under the wire. This one comes into us from Jonathan. Subject line. Jonathan, welcome to the show. Subject line: favorite sports game ever attended? Dear Nick, emailed a few times that have never been read. I want to reiterate, and thank you for all of this. I will be attending my first home Heat game this October. I live in North Dakota, so I haven't been able to get out there ever. It turns out that it's the same night that they're doing Dwayne Wade's statue unveiling and ceremony. This will assuredly be one of the best moments of my life. It made me wonder what your favorite in-person sports experience is. I know you mentioned really enjoying the Bucks finals run and Man on the Street stuff. Best, John. John, thanks for the email. I can't imagine what it would be like to be a fan of any professional sports team and you live in like a North Dakota, South Dakota, you live in Idaho, you live in Wyoming. Like, what do you do? That must be horrible. Like, I guess some of those states have like college football. Actually, North Dakota, you guys got a good football team. But my favorite ones that I've ever been to. Well, obviously, unfortunately, I wasn't actually at the game for the Bucks championship clinching game with Game 6 against Phoenix. I was just outside of the arena, and I don't know if I've ever admitted this before. I guess I can do it now. We're a few years removed from it, and I got nothing to hide. I still, to this day, don't know a single thing that happened in that game, other than the fact that Giannis had 50 in a closeout game, won a championship on the back of 50 points from Giannis Antetokounmpo, by the way. But you guys got to understand, we parked in Milwaukee, 90 minutes, 2 hours before the game. The second we got out of the car, probably like 4, I think it was 5 of us that were there. We all just started shotgunning beers, like in some random, in somebody's fucking driveway, basically. And then I also had brought a bunch of little fireball shooters, and we just started hammering those. So even by the time that the game started, there were like TVs kind of everywhere, but like, dude, I was doing content, like I was busy. And so I was hardly paying attention to the game at all. And then Grandma, plug your ears, by the end of the game, we snuck into, and by snuck into, I mean, we physically just ran past the barrier and we just dipped into the crowd. So the security couldn't find us. We were drunk. Who cares? As the clock started to tick out and the Bucks are dribbling it out and they're going to win a championship. And so I'm in this sea of Bucks fans, and there's a dude next to me just ripping a cigarette. And I'm just like staring at him. And at this point, I don't even know where I am. And I just like tapped him on the shoulder and I pointed to it. And he's like, here, brother. And so but the problem was my lips were so dry that when I took it away from my mouth, my fingers slipped down the cigarette. I like burned my hand off, and the guy was pissed because I just ruined his cigarette. And so granted, it was only one. I only had one hit of the cigarette. I was drunk, and nicotine sounded nice in that moment, and that's what I wanted to do. So I did it. And then as the Lord would have it, I burned my hand as a consequence. And he was mad at me, and I stomped it out. And then I don't even remember what happened after that. And then even previous to that game, we did get to go to a Bucks game during that run against Brooklyn, the one that Kyrie, I think, like hurt his knee or something. We were at that one. That was really cool. But my favorite ones that I've ever been to, I was at Brian Hoyer's senior day, Michigan State football. How about that one? It was 2007, the first Michigan State game that I ever went to. It was 2007, we were playing Penn State. Joe Paterno was on the sidelines. It was Mark D'Antonio's, what would that have been, his first or his second year? And it was to get us to 7 wins, and we were like, holy shit, we're going to a bowl game. And the glory days of Michigan State were officially underway, right? It was really cool. I was like, 9 at the time? Yeah, I would have been 9 years old. It was awesome. And then I was also at Kirk Cousins' senior day. And so when he, saluted the helmet at midfield, I was there for that. Not only was I there for that, dog, so when I was a kid, I've talked about this before, I got like a little video camera as a present one year, every Christmas, my birthday. Maybe it wasn't even either of those. I got one. And so me and my brother would always make like little movies around the house, and wherever we were, we would always have that camera so we could film stuff. I would always sneak the camera into Spartan Stadium. I have it on my little camera, Kirk Cousins saluting the thing. So I was there for that too. I've been to a handful of Michigan State football games. Haven't been to one since 2015, or I think it's maybe 2015, 2016. So it's been a while. I will be in East Lansing in 3 weeks for the Ohio State game. I'm nervous for this. I'm just excited for the atmosphere. We're going to get absolutely dropped off in that game. The only Lions game I've ever been to was actually Stafford's first time playing Detroit post-trade, but it was in Los Angeles. I had just moved there. Our CEO, he knew I was a Michigan sports fan, and so he just asked me, he's like, hey man, I got tickets. Do you want to come with me? So just me and the CEO, who ended up being an enormous piece of shit and I hate to this day. Although, Brian, if you're listening to this, you're a good guy. So we just went to the game and we got drunk, and we, like the on-field bar that they have there, we like snuck into the little VIP thing, all you can eat, all you can drink. And I got drunk and I watched the Lions. We lost, but it was a really cool experience because it was such a beautiful stadium. And it was one of my first like actual experiences living in Los Angeles. Outside of that, Pistons games that I've been to that have been actually meaningful. I don't know. Going to the Pistons Nets game where we did end up losing that game to tie this record for most losses in a single season consecutively, which was 27 in a row. We even made a video about that called 27 in a row, which I pre-recorded under the assumption that we were going to fucking lose that game. And guess what? We did. That was interesting. It wasn't fun, though. It was cool to be sitting. Have I ever told this before? Dwayne Casey was sitting right in front of us. I mean, like, reach your hands out. Where your hand ends, if you move it down, I could have palmed Dwayne Casey. Said he was sitting right in front of us because we were right in front of the Nets bench, and that's where DC likes to sit, right? So the whole game, people are coming up to Dwayne and chopping it up with him, being like, "Thank you for doing what you did for Detroit because this new guy fucking stinks." Dwayne Casey was so gracious to everybody, and he was very considerate. Rather, people weren't being considerate of his time, but he didn't care because he understands how this thing goes, and he was just he was so kind to everybody. And the whole game, Maddie's like, if you don't say something, you're gonna be crushed. And I was like, I want to have like a professional relationship with him. I don't want to like fangirl over him because that's just, even though I would, because I just as a man what he's meant to the city of Detroit, and he's just fucking awesome. Dwayne Casey is just awesome. So the whole game, I'm just staring at him. And then this is a little bit invasive. Sorry, I got to call myself out here. Every time he would pull out his phone, I would like, what are you looking at? And he was always looking at the box score on ESPN of the game in front of him. And it was just like really humanizing to him. I'm like, wow, you're just like checking the stats. You're just checking the box score. What's Isaiah's plus minus? What's Cam Thomas shooting in this game? You know, shit like that. And then at one point he did open up his like call log. And I was just looking at I won't say any of them, but I was just looking at all the names that were in his phone that he had like talked to on the phone recently and like missed calls and shit like that. And I was like, whoa, I was like, this is DC. So the whole game. So that was a cool experience, but the game sucked, right? I went to Pistons Cavs 2016. You know, this is a couple months before the Cavs ended up coming back from 3-1 and winning that championship. But I did get to see that team play in real life. Not only that, you know, we're a few rows off the floor. It was a Christmas present from me and my brother to our dad. So we went all out for those tickets, right? We spent a lot of money on those. And but it ended up being worth it. It was cool. We got to see K-Love. We got to see Kyrie. We got to see Bron. We got to see all those guys. You know what I mean? Not only that, so we're on the baseline. And LeBron, on a breakaway, goes to do his signature tomahawk. He bricked. He missed the dunk. That felt like a whole different thing to be experiencing. Because I'm watching LeBron go downhill. There's nobody around him. You know he's about to do, if not the dunk, then at least a dunk. And it's LeBron dunking 10 feet in front of me. This rules. To have him miss that felt like a whole different, you know what I mean? Like that is like a, whoa, I just watched for me, the greatest basketball player that I've ever been alive for, my king, I watched him smoke a wide open dunk that ruled. And then the following year, it was Golden State. I finally got to see Steph, and that was a really cool moment for me. And it wasn't even just that I got to see the Hamptons 5. Well, fuck, I just spoiled it. I wasn't even just that I got to see Steph. It was that I got to see the Hamptons 5. It was 2017, baby. This is the first year that Kevin Durant is in Golden State. And that was, it's a moment, man, to be able to look back and say that, like, from a historical perspective, like, I got to see that ruled. Man, outside of that, and the other cool part of that, you know, if you're a nostalgia head out there, both of those games were at the Palace. You know, how about that? What a beautiful arena the Palace of Auburn Hills was. It was in the middle of nowhere, and it was perfect. It was perfect. It was so easy to get in and out of the arena, of the parking lot. Oh my God, you just like went to the game and you left. That was it. Whereas if you go to LCA, you go to not Tiger Skate Stadium, whoops, Freudian slip. You go to Comerica, you go to Ford Field. It's all right downtown. It's a disaster trying to get back onto the freeway. Even when I moved to LA, like I got to go to Laker and Clipper games, and I went to one Kings game, LA Kings game, when the Red Wings came to town, actually. And that was the first time that I ever got to see the Red Wings in person. That was really cool. The truth is, every single game that I went to at Staples Center / Crypto.com Arena, because I did get to go to both, and I learned that the hot dogs were better the hot dogs were better when it was Staples Center. And I don't know if they changed something, but as soon as, was it Christmas Day that they officially changed it, 2021, or was that what it would have been, 2021 or 2022? As soon as they changed it to Crypto.com, the hot dogs became bad. And I was like, they were like, I am become bad, destroyer of bowels. And you're like, huh? You're like, what? I did get to see the Battle of LA. I did get to see a Laker Clipper game where at the end of it, it was a game winner from Reggie Jackson. And I watched him do the bullshit where he skips down the court. You know what I'm talking about? And he just went left, went baseline. I think it was a floater or something, but it went in and the Clippers won that game and it was cool. I got to see Luka play in LA. I got to see Steph play in LA. Man, I was very lucky to get to just go to a bunch of those games. I've told this story before. I know you asked for what's my favorite game that I've ever been to, so maybe it's a little... maybe I'm being a little long-winded here, but the truth is I don't know, because I haven't been to a game that had like a moment. You know, for me, it's about the experiences that came with going to the game. Like I've been to a few Tigers games. I got to see Johnny Peralta hit a walk-off home run against the Red Sox in maybe 2012, 2013. I don't remember what year that would have been, but seeing a walk-off home run for the first time, that was really, really cool. Went to one Dodger game. That was the one where I had 6 Dodger dogs. Those are 10-inch hot dogs. So I had 60 inches of hot dogs in me by the end of that game. I mean, I was ripped out of my mind for all of these events that I went to in California. I was always just really high. I remember being at a Laker game and taking out like 100 milligrams of like a red velvet like cookie edible. I just popped the whole thing. But dog, by the time I went home, I'm in the lift on like, what is that, the 10 that you take back to Santa Monica? I was tweaking, bro. And it's like 11 o'clock at night. I got to be at the office in the morning. Like, we got to shoot a video in the morning, and I'm just sitting here fried. But, man, such is life. Such is life in the big city, you know, when you move out there. So out of all those, what was my favorite? I don't know. I just always try to make it as, you know, whenever I go to these games, I always just try to make it as memorable of an experience as I can, because the truth is that I don't get to go out that much. So let's do a hard pivot here. All right, this one comes into us from Reed. Reed, welcome to the show. Subject line, is AI ruining my education? Hey, Nick, hope all is well. I'm in my sophomore year of college and am a marketing major. Still getting my prereqs out of the way before I do the classes that actually matter. I have basic accounting, business management, and just a pre-calc class that I'm taking along with a couple of electives. So far, it's going pretty well, and I get my work done on time. I take good notes, but here's the catch. On my 40-question math homework and some multiple choice question assignments, I regularly rely on AI on my computer to help me get done with my work faster. Because to be frank, I simply do not have time to sit down and do all this work during the week while trying to save up enough money to pay for tuition with my 40-hour work week. In your opinion, does it seem as if I am cheating and not learning anything, or am I just using a helpful tool to my advantage? Side note, on my quizzes and tests so far, I have gotten all A's and B's, and I cannot use AI in them. Lastly, sports hot take as a miserable Steelers fan. I think that Justin Fields, if he starts the whole season, could give us 10 wins this year and possibly a wild card win. Let's unpack that one first. Yeah, I mean, if Chris Boswell kicks 6 field goals every single game, all Justin Fields has to do is lead like one fucking touchdown drive. Like just one. Just one. 10 wins? I don't know. Maybe. Would that make Bears fans feel bad? Let's just toy with it for a second. If the MVP of the Steelers is Chris Boswell, but technically Justin Fields is the quarterback, and every game is just the Atlanta game, do Bears fans feel good or bad about that? They're like, well, he didn't fucking do anything. He's basically just as effective as Caleb was on Sunday, you know? I don't know. I'll give it to you just because, like, you have shit else to root for. You haven't had a quarterback in, like, 6 years. Sure, I'll give that to you. Let's do the AI thing, though. Let's talk about artificial intelligence and if it's ruining your education. No, for you, it's not. And I think what you added at the end of it, that you're getting all A's and B's anyways. So it's like, okay, so you don't actually need this, and you're still at least absorbing shit when you're taking these classes. You're, you know, even if you're not really doing the homework, you're still absorbing it. And it's not a matter, it doesn't sound like it's a matter of you can't do it without this crutch of AI. You know what I mean? And then the other piece of this is like, who fucking cares for you're a marketing major. You don't need these classes anyways. These gen eds, you don't need, like, who cares? You might as well cheat because this is not going to be applicable. Like, if you were an engineer, I would be like, yeah, dude, like, maybe do it because that's how you end up, like, building a school that, like, fucking collapses. You know what I mean? But you don't need this class for what your major is going to end up being, so it doesn't matter. I don't think that AI is ruining education. I think it's creating a new landscape for it. And I think that maybe we need to pivot on what the core values are for the kids, right? Because I don't think it's like calculus and long division and Pythagorean's theorem, fucking cursive. It's not that shit anymore, right? I mean, how many kids are disillusioned by like credit scores, right? A big one would just be internet literacy, like internet literacy classes, where we can teach kids not just how to navigate the internet safely and responsibly, which I think the genie's kind of out of the bottle on that one. I don't know if we'll ever be able to put it back in there, but also artificial intelligence. Now, I know we actually do have a lot of people that listen to the show who in some capacity do work in the education field. I would love for your feedback on what this guy is asking, and then anything that I have said or end up saying. Please, I would love to know your experiences with this, because it is a thing, right, that kids are relying on ChatGPT to like write essays. But the thing is, it's kind of like AI art. You can tell when something's been generated by a computer, whether it's a digital image or it's in print. Like, you can just tell. So teachers are kind of able to, and I'm sure the same way that when I was in middle school and high school, teachers were like, oh yeah, we have this program that if you just, it's like a plagiarism checker, and they can tell if you just like got some shit from Wikipedia or something. I'm sure there's like some infrastructure for that, some technology to kind of scope that stuff out. Maybe another piece of this is that education has always been the slowest to adapt to these new technologies. You know, again, going back to when I was in school, what was it? It was like Spark Notes was a big one for English classes. I don't know if that's still a thing. Oh, I have to read Catcher in the Rye. I have to read Of Mice and Men. I'll just check Spark Notes because they'll tell me everything that I need to know on there about the book, and then that way I can ace the quiz. There was really no way for teachers to combat that, right? Like Quizlet was another one. It was pretty easy to kind of tap in, and you think about like pocket calculators, really going back on the timeline, and how that, when those sort of became more of like a prominent piece of handheld technology, and how it was hard to reconcile with that shit. You know, you go back like 60 years, maybe even more than that. I don't know the timeline on this one. And we talked about cursive. They're trying to teach all these kids cursive, but, well, I guess it would be more than 60 years ago. But check out these new typewriters. But check these out, right? Education has always been really slow to catch up to this shit. Maybe the other piece of this is that public education could use more funding, you know, to help combat artificial intelligence. And there's a healthy way and there's a responsible way to use it as a tool and not as a crutch. I think it's easy to say that in a world where the attention span is viewed as, hold on, there's going to be some dead air because I want to think about this. The attention span is not valued as much as it should, and it's a dwindling feature of ours, right? And in a vast landscape like the internet, where you can learn anything like that, you can learn anything that you want. You just got to know where to look. What also comes with that is the ability to take shortcuts. And what I would say is that the people who do rely on those shortcuts are the ones that, even if they graduate, they get their bachelor's on the back of a chat GPT like character. They're the ones who are going to have a harder time getting into the workforce because they don't actually know what they're doing, right? And they just bullshitted their way through all of these courses. I think I'm going to have more to say on this, but I'm going to chamber it for now until I get to hear some of your guys' perspectives. And I think we're going to revisit this one, honestly, because I do think there's a lot to unpack here. And I want to wait until we have more concrete experiences from some of you out there. So be sure to hit the email inbox, copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. Feel free to leave a comment on Spotify. Feel free to leave a comment on YouTube. And speaking of revisiting some conversations from previous episodes, you guys have been coming out in droves talking about the workforce. Maybe the fourth episode in a row, where we keep talking about the job market, because that's the one thing, that's the biggest thing right now, that and relationships that you guys are emailing in about. And we got one here from Kevin. Kevin, welcome to the show. Subject line: job market conspiracy, parenthetically, Coping Hour exclusive. Hey Nick, I've been through lots of career counseling, and after dropping out of college midway through, I have finally landed an attractive position in my desired STEM field without a degree. I heard someone on the show mention how a master's is the new bachelor's in Monday's email reading, and I was hoping to share some more tangible career advice with the show because it's not that simple. And as somebody who's been through the trenches, I am qualified to speak on it. Our parents' generation grew up where graduating high school was good and a bachelor's was above and beyond, and it meant that you were basically set. Now, high school is the bare minimum, and a bachelor's is good, but a master's doesn't even mean that you're set. Because of the internet, holy shit. Because of the internet, anyone can teach themselves anything, and what matters the most... Sorry, I was laughing because we literally just said that, so it's just funny timing. Sorry, back to the email. And what matters the most is having experience. Back then, there was no way to easily show that you knew what you were doing, so employers would hire people with good degrees and hope and pray that they knew how to do their job. But now all they want is experience, because since the internet exists, it's easy to attach a portfolio or show off tangible things that you've done. People go through the education system thinking that when they finish, they're in the clear. But it's really the journey and the things you do along the way that employers care about, not the degree itself. Since employers want experience, focus on a portfolio. We live in a world where anyone can upload a video to YouTube. You don't need a film degree to show you know how to edit a video. Also, certifications exist. Employers are most likely to know the value of a single certification that's recognized field-wide than a random university. College has always been for rich Nepo kids networking with each other anyways. To those looking for a job, build a portfolio, network however you can, and learn to write a nice-looking resume. And here's the conspiracy theory, folks. If you were wondering when we were going to get there, here it is. And on the fake jobs posting conspiracy, which what we had hypothesized for those who maybe missed it, is I had said that it seems like companies are hoarding applications and we couldn't figure out why. Because that doesn't really seem like the most valuable data, but you see how many people applying for a single job. But the same company's like, oh yeah, no, we're hiring. But then they don't actually hire anyone. So what's the conspiracy? Companies frequently post ads on Indeed, etc., so that, one, they can gauge public general interest in their company among the public. That makes sense. Number two, so that you recognize their company subliminally if you ever read their name somewhere else. Number three, if someone way overqualified applies, they can then create a new position for them, parenthetically, because often they are already full. I don't even have anything to add to that. That's interesting. That makes complete sense. I'm a little bit disappointed that I didn't clock that because you're 100% right. You know, if you're a company that is like Nestle, is that a good example? I don't think that's a really good example, but if they put up like associate director or like a fucking chief marketing officer, I don't know, I'm just making up positions. But it sounds like, to Kevin's point, they're doing the same thing. I don't know. That's just really interesting. Sorry, man. I don't have anything insightful to say. Your email was great, though. I appreciate that. Let's pivot to another one. It's also about the workforce. Really, really turning this damn show into like, turning you guys into like wage slaves. Totally inadvertent. Have not meant to do that, but here we are. This one comes into us from Jacob. Jacob, welcome to the show. Subject line, growth in an industry that I have no interest in. Hey, Nick, longtime listener. Okay, I'm a 20-year-old college student in school for operations and supply chain. I recently started a paid internship with an industrial supply company while I finished my last 2 years of university. I've been working with different departments to see where my interests lie, and I'm lucky enough to have some connections within the company. The only problem is I have no interest in any of the work that I do. Is it a bad idea for me to leave what seems like a sure thing if I'm getting nothing out of it? I've always been interested in media and entertainment, and have been trying to find an opportunity to actually experience working in the industry, but I feel like I would be sabotaging my current position in the process. I don't mind eating shit for a few years to help me stay afloat while I finish school, but I often find myself dreading the proposition of graduating into a position where I get no fulfillment from, even if it's a good paycheck. I'm not trying to be a filmmaker or musician or actor or anything like people generally see as fun or artistic career paths, but I don't know how long I can deal with the idea of dreading waking up every day for a job that means nothing to me. In the back of my head, I think I already know what the solution to the problem is, but it still felt good to write it down. Oh, that's nice. Oh, and then here at the bottom, I didn't see this. Obligatory NBA take. Who are some needle mover role players that are moved every trade deadline that you dislike for one reason or another? For me, it's Buddy Hield or Bojan Bogdanovic. Both dudes are always supposed to be that efficient 10 to 15 point per game scorer, last piece on a contender that always seem to fall short when it matters, and it just pisses me off. Also doesn't help that both of them are ugly as hell. I don't think the Bogdanovic one is a good example. The Buddy Hield one is fun. Bogdanovic was weird last year once he went to the Knicks, but he was awesome for the Pistons. And then this is what I said on the shoot-around the other day. Here's my thing about Bogdanovic. If he's not on your team, so if you're, well, he's still on the Knicks, right? So if you're not a Knicks fan, and you get a Woj notification right now as you're listening to this that your favorite team has just traded for Bojan Bogdanovic, and you're not getting fleeced like it's a deal that is like, it's like fucking 2 seconds, whatever it is, right? You're going to be happy about that, right? Because he's a hooper. Buddy Hield, I think most people would be excited about that. I get a little bit more where you're coming from with that one, though. So who are some needle mover role players that are moved every deadline that I dislike for one reason or another? Hey, have I ever done my spiel on Robert Covington? Have I ever done that on this show? Have I done that before? What do I always say? The art of repeating yourself. Listen, let me get into character for this. What is it about this fucking guy? That every single... It's dissipated in recent years. It's a problem of yesteryear. It's not a thing anymore, 100%. But there was a 6 or 7 year stretch where every single year it was like, who's going to fucking trade for Robert Covington? Who's going to win the fucking championship because they traded for Robert Covington? Do you want to know how many times it ended up happening? Zero. It never happened. But every year at the trade deadline, what does everybody say? They all say the same thing. Oh, if we just got like one 3-and-D guy. To your point about Bogdanovic and Buddy Hield, if we got that 10 to 15 point per game score, 38 to 41% from deep. Oh, we will be set. This end of the bench guy maybe comes in as the 7th. We'll be set. And teams constantly thought that would be Robert Covington, and it never fucking was. Ever. Let's get back to the rest of this email, though. All right? Jacob, in a theme with these emails, usually the shitty thing that I have to say, I say up top. Just so that we can spend the rest of the time being positive. So let me do the shitty thing now. I have been very reluctant to say this to anybody because I don't think it's helpful, even if we all know it in the back of our heads. I don't think it's kind of me to say this. But for the amount of people in the world who are working a job that they don't like, which is pretty much everybody, they're in school and it's a drag and they're exhausted, which is everyone that's in school. It's always like, what are the greener pastures? And like, how do I do something that isn't this? Which is a very natural human response. That's completely normal. And I don't blame any of those people because those issues have merit, real legitimate weight to them. But it's not a meritocracy. If everybody got to do exactly what they wanted to do, the world would fucking stink. Honestly. To be honest with you guys, you're going to be like, oh, it's easy for you to say you have a bullshit job. I don't make a fucking dime off of this. All right? Sure, we got the merch going. Why do you think we started doing that? Because this shit isn't profitable. I don't make money. There's no money. I'm very fortunate that I'm in a situation, my 9 to 5 is I'm a stay-at-home dad, son. I'm not the breadwinner of this house. That's why I'm able to do this. It's on some for the love of the game shit, all right? So I just want to say that up front. Not trying to sound defensive, but like I get the optics of a guy whose job it is to just fucking talk into a microphone twice a week for 2 hours. They're like, not everybody gets to do what they want to do. I would rather be doing something else, honestly. As like a career, I would love to have an actual fucking career that gave me purpose, that paid me well, and that made me feel fulfilled. Now, it sounds like here, Jacob, 1 or 2 of those boxes aren't getting checked for you. Sounds like you're getting paid pretty well. Sounds like in the future, that's not going to be an issue for you, which does matter here. It just does. It just does. When you have structure and you have stability at, what are you, 20? Brother. There is a non-zero, I'm not trying to be the boogeyman here. There's a non-zero chance by the end of the decade, we do have another recession. They kind of tried to say that like we had been in one for a few years. Not really. Not really. Like sure, inflation is super high. The price of goods is rising rather. But like there's not a limited amount of goods and services. The depletion of our resources hasn't happened yet, whereas it could by the end. And what you don't want is to be left without a chair when something like that happens. Again, I'm not trying to be the boogeyman here, but just really think about this critically, like long term. You're only 20 years old and you said this, and I'm glad that you identified this, that you're willing to eat shit for a few years to kind of get your footing and figure out what it is. I don't think you're sending this email in with the intention of like quitting tomorrow and moving to Brooklyn and wearing a fucking beret and like, hey, now I'm an artist. You know, I like to think that you would be taking a more analytical approach to this, right? It's kind of like what I said to the person the other day. So you're 20. Okay. Where do you want to be when you're 25? Where do you need to be by the time you're 21 to get there? You know, then 22, then 23. I think one thing that I have always struggled with, I made a video about this, I'm pretty sure, years ago, is just a real sense of purpose. You know, and feeling like what I'm doing matters in the world and feeling like I'm contributing. A big, and this was an ego thing, an issue I had when I was probably about your age, about 20 to like 22, maybe 23, is I was like, if I am 40 and people don't know who I am and I haven't made it like in a major way and I haven't made a profound impact on them, then I've failed as a man. I've failed as a human being because I felt genuinely that that was my purpose, was to, in whatever capacity it was, impact people's lives. And as soon as I realized that like that wasn't going to be a thing, I made a video about it. And somebody said something to me in the comments that I've really been thinking about, like recently. It was something to the effect of, hey man, I know how you're feeling. Like, I'm a father of 2, and it's kind of just about, I'm going to bullshit his comment because I don't really remember what it was. It's into my head like very, very loosely. Calibrating my expectations for what is enough, quote unquote, what does matter, quote unquote, what my impact actually is. I had to change the scope. I had to zoom out. You know, I have dreams. I have aspirations. I know where I want to be in a few years. I truly do. I was having a conversation with Maddie about it last night. I got something out to her that as soon as I said it, she, you know, spent a couple minutes, like she gave me a response. But I told her, I was like, I am really upset that I got that out because it didn't feel good to say that. I just kind of don't want to talk about this anymore. And what I had said was, on those dreams and aspirations, I know it's like over a little bit. And not because I feel like I'm old. I'm young. I have a lot of life to live. My journey is far from over. You know, I'm not marrying myself to just like, well, I guess I'm a fucking dad now. I guess this is just what I do. But in some way, I think it is. Which is okay for me because, again, I've recalibrated. And I know that what is most important in mine and in her life right now is making a profound impact on our son. And when I'm alone with him 5 days a week for like 10 hours a day, it's me and him. And there's like tangible results to what I am doing for him. And that means a lot to me. But it also goes back to what I said to you at the beginning about it not being a meritocracy. I don't think I'm going to get to live out those dreams because there are a lot of other people who want to do it. It's hard to convince yourself that you have what it takes. You know, is that something you struggle with? Maybe I'm sounding really doomer here. I'm not saying this to you. I guess this is just one of those moments. I apologize, man. I'm just giving my own experience and my own thoughts and feelings. And, you know, if it's coming off in any sort of way, I'm not trying to discourage you at all. I want all of you to pursue your dreams. I really, really do. But what we've learned in some of these emails that we've read is there's almost like a sense of entitlement. There's almost this sense of like individualism where like nobody else exists. This is my story. I'm the main character. Why isn't this being handed to me? Because there's somebody who's 5 years older than you, who has 5 years more worth of experience, and to the previous emailer's point, like actual tangible shit on their resume, a portfolio, as it were, right? It's not always going to work out for you. Sometimes you'll accidentally your way into some great situations, which, by the way, Jacob, it sounds like you've done here. So, okay, you've identified where you want to be in a few years. Great. You got a really good paying job? Brother, it's time to put that bib on because it's time to eat shit. Save up, right? Make sure that you set yourself up, give yourself a good foundation to pursue what it is that you want to do next in this next chapter. Because I think another reoccurring theme here, not accusing you of this, brother, but in some of the emails, this definitely came through. It's like the job that they're working when they're 18 to 21. It's like, well, this is just what I fucking do now. It's a stepping stone. It's a launching point. Fuck that job. You're not married to it. Your employer knows what it is. Your employer doesn't even want to be there. However much money they're making, they don't want to be there either. It's the same amount of a job to them as it is to you. You know what I mean? Let it fuel you. Use those experiences. I hated every second of working in retail. That's like pretty much all I did. Every job that I ever had was working in retail. But you know what it made me good at? People. Being a conversation. Super like introverted. But I can have a conversation with anybody. Anybody. I got good at de-escalating situations for a while, too. That was a big thing, because I was stupid. I was a kid. I was a teenager. I was always fucking up. I'm getting shortchanged at the register. Managers calling me into the office at Nike, showing me the security footage of me getting shortchanged. I'm fucking 18 years old. I'm sitting there crying. I don't like getting in trouble. Shit like that, right? But you learn. It's the experiences that come with it. You learn people. You learn a little bit about how the world works in each respective field. A job is a job at the end of the day. Even if you get to where you want to go, you reach the summit of the mountain, and it's the thing that you've always wanted to do. They say, oh, well, when it's what you love, it's not work. Bullshit. Bullshit. Eventually, you get desensitized to the magic of that job. Even if 90% of the time, right, you're like, no, this just rules, and I'd rather be doing this than anything else. I believe that that's always going to be true. But there are parts of it, man. Like when I was working in California, dog, I don't care how much I loved talking about hoops for a living, getting paid to do that. It's exhausting. Because the other part of it is like when I'm watching the games, this isn't my leisure time anymore. I'm like essentially on the clock. There's parts of it that come with everything. You know? So even when you do get there, just remember, this is a job. This is a job, even if it's what you love to do. I spent a while on that one. Let's move on to one more. This one comes into us from Olin. Subject line, Greek mythology rapper comparisons and the Podfather. What's up, Motown? Olin, did I say welcome to the show? If I didn't, or if I did, rather, welcome twice. Welcome twice, brother. What's up, Motown? Emailing you from the sidelines of my little brother's soccer game. Side note, watching my brother play and improve in a sport he loves has quickly become one of my favorite things ever. That's cute as hell. That's really cute. Back to the email. Anyways, I wanted to start a new segment. Do you have the agency to do that? Can you do that? Do you have authority to start new segments on this show? Anyway, I wanted to start a new segment in this email comparing Greek mythological figures to modern rappers. I only have one. Pitching the segment with a half-assed attempt here. Midas and Lil Yachty. Because everything that dude touches right now is gold. I've attached some of my favorites of his recent stuff, as well as a song I'm convinced he just gave to Drake from Her Loss. The song that you're talking about, Jumbotron Shit Poppin', Yachty did the reference track for it. So yeah, I'm without even looking at what you sent, I guarantee that's what it is. He did the reference for it, and then because him and Drake are boys, he probably just gave it to Drake. That's literally all that it is. Guess what? That's just how it works. That's just how the industry works. The amount of times that I've seen people be like, oh, Drake stole that shit from Yachty. They're boys. You don't think Yachty gave that shit to him? Stop. Not saying this to you, but I'm antagonizing the other people for sure. I'll participate because there's another part to this. So what's the first part? I don't have anything for this. I don't have anything for this. I'll do an NBA one. Jordan Poole is Icarus. How's that one? Shout out to the guy, by the way, who emailed in. I'm not reading your email. I'm not giving you the dignity of reading that bullshit on here. But I am bringing it up, so I guess I am giving you some credit. Damn it. You win. Fine. I'll still say it, though. This guy emails in, and he was like, hey, have fun continuing to hate on Jordan Poole. He makes more money than you and has a ring, and you're a pussy. And I was like, well, that speaks for the... That's the hive, I guess. Congrats to Wizards fans that you have a guy on your franchise is like, yeah, no, this is our guy. Cool. Next part of the email. Bill Simmons' contract. Do you see the Podfather leaving the Ringer? Sirius just capital P paid Alex Cooper recently, and I would imagine Bill commands a similar bag. Also, with his Vince McMahon doc coming out and him constantly reminiscing about his 30 for 30 days, do you think he will ever lean all the way back into documentaries? Do you think he's going to build another media company from the ground up? Do you think he's going to walk off into the sunset? Parenthetically, he's not. He loves being heard and being the Podfather. Close parentheses. Yeah, for sure. Is he part of NBC's basketball broadcast? What do you think the Podfather's next steps are? Let's get weird, all right? Let's get, I don't want to say parasocial because Bill's he is a celebrity as far as the sports, media pantheon goes. Like, he is a celebrity, so I think it's fair to speculate on some of this stuff. Because if you really think about it, I think you nailed all of the bases here, honestly. So, okay, a few things here up top. One, I've said this before. I'm going to keep saying it until it doesn't happen. I am friends with a guy who, I don't want to say what his role was at the Ringer just because I don't want to burn him, just in case one of you little fucking sleuths out there, whatever. He doesn't work there anymore, but he used to have a pretty important role at the Ringer. And what he told me like 2 years ago and has maintained it to this day is that once Bill's contract is up, he will leave the Ringer. Now, I believe this was before he became more involved in the business end, or rather the programming end of Spotify, since Spotify absorbed the Ringer, bought them out. But that's all that we've heard. And to the emailer's point here, Bill's in a contract year, which is why he's been fucking firing on all cylinders. So what does this mean? I don't think he re-ups. I think it's over. What I was told, not a sourced program, by the way, I'm just word of mouth, one guy to another. You listening to this right now, guys and gals. I think Bill's gone. I don't know what that means for Ryan, but Ryan even recently has alluded to having some really major news to share. I don't know if he's said it and I maybe missed it. I've wondered if either he got a screenplay picked up, nice little Ryan Russillo screenplay somewhere in Los Angeles, or if he's just like, my next chapter on some real KD shit. Like, eventually that's going to happen. What I think is interesting is Kevin O'Connor. You seen this? You heard about this? He's gone. He's at Yahoo Sports now. I'm so mad that came out the day that I'm recording this because, just hours ago, KOC to Yahoo Sports just came. So mad because that was actually going to be a scoop for the show. I was so pumped about it, and then the report came out from like the fucking New York Post of all people. You're like, what is the New York Post doing reporting on Kevin O'Connor? So he's gone. But the NBC part of this is interesting too, because who was it from NBC that he had on the show like a couple months ago? Was it like an executive, like an act? I don't remember who it was, but he's definitely buttering them up. And everything that I said about Bill leaving and potentially starting another thing from the ground up, you get another page 2, you get another, what's a page 2, right? That doesn't sound right. Get another Grantland, you get another 30 for 30 if he goes the documentary route, or you get another digital media company in the Ringer. Well, everything that I was told was before the NBA signed this lucrative deal and NBC was back in the mix. I don't think it's crazy. There's zero chance that he's done. Zero. First of all, he's about to be an empty nester. His kids are going to go off to school. You know what I mean? So he's not going to have anything to do. There's a chance that Bill Simmons' best podcasting years are ahead of him. Like, he's about to get back into the swing of things in a way that we have not seen Bill dialed in the way that he's going to be in a few years. And I don't know. When did him and Jalen break up? When did that show stop? Whenever that was, like, since then, honestly. He can go on all the power walks he wants to go on. He can microdose mushrooms all day if he wants to. He's got nothing else to do. At this point, he's as rich as he's ever been, thanks to Spotify. I don't want to say he's as disconnected as he's ever been, because he's still got some fastballs here and there, right? I don't know. What is he going to do next? I don't know. I'm really excited to see, though. So, okay, folks, so let's start wrapping up the show. You guys want to talk a little bit about Skyrim? I'm back. I'm so back. It's like clockwork. Once a year, I get back into Skyrim. And when I do, I get back into it super heavy. And then for like 2 weeks, I'm dialed in. That's all that I do. And then I drop it. And then next year, I know I'll come back to it, right? My favorite thing to do when I play Skyrim on PC, because I started playing it on my PlayStation, and then I was like, the FOV is so bad. I cannot play this game. I cannot play it at 30 frames. Like, this is brutal. So I just fired it up on my computer. And then also the other piece of it is that I can just actually use cool mods. My favorite thing to do in Skyrim is modding the shit out of it to a point where you're just like not even playing Skyrim, but it still is at its core. You know what I mean? Like, you want the Skyrim engine, but you just like really blow it up. So I downloaded a bunch of Star Wars mods. And so I'm basically playing Skyrim and like Mos Eisley and Hoth and Endor and I was going to say Tatooine, but I already said Mos Eisley. And it's fun. I have like Stormtrooper followers. I fought Darth Vader. I fought Palpatine. I fought Darth Maul. It's just fun. Not only that, but when I was playing on my PlayStation, I did something I've never done before in Skyrim. I've been playing this game the same as you guys for almost 13 years at this point. I was in 7th grade when this game came out. I am 26 years old. I'm going to be 30 by the time The Elder Scrolls 7 comes out. All right? My kid's going to be walking, talking, and being inoculated in school by the time The Elder Scrolls 7 comes out. All right? I'm playing this game a long time, and I've never just role-played as a civilian. But let me tell you something. I started a new save. I did the whole Helgen thing, and I just do that for the millionth time. All right, let's get to Riverwood. Let's get to Whiterun, and then that way, and then I'm on my way. I didn't take anything from anybody. I didn't steal. I obeyed all the rules, except for in Helgen. You have to kill people, like you just do. But by the time I got to Whiterun, I had no gold in my pockets. I had no clothes on my back. And I was like, all right, I need to start a new life. I'm chopping wood for 2 hours in real time to make money. You could do the thing where you harvest plants and then you just do like apothecary shit and sell potions. That's boring. You were chopping wood for 2 hours. You're telling me mixing potions is boring? No, it's just cheap. You know what I mean? That's not like real labor. You're just trying to cheese the game because you know that that's going to give you a head start. No, brother, I'm talking bare bones. I'm selling wood, enough wood, so that, and I have on survival mode, so I got to be eating. I got to buy some warm clothes. I got to make sure I got 10 gold so that I can sleep in a bed every single night, because otherwise you'll get fatigue in survival mode. And so every day I got to meticulously plan my days. In Skyrim, I go, okay, I wake up at 9 o'clock. Some days I wake up earlier than that. By 9 o'clock, I got to be chopping wood. Okay, what am I going to do after that? Well, then I'm going to turn that wood into a hunting bow and some iron arrows, and then I'm going to go hunting. And then whenever I successfully kill something, then I will sell that game and those pelts to get a little bit more. Once I'm done with that, go chop some more wood. If there are any odds and ends, quest lines, hey, can you go give this, what's the woman's name? The blacksmith when you walk in at Whiterun. Adrian? What is her name? Oh, this is brutal. Brutal. I can't remember her name. She's got a quest where she's like, hey, go bring this sword to my dad up in Dragon's Reach. Gives you like 100 gold or something like that. Perfect. Just stuff like that. Odds and ends. As long as I don't have to break the law or fight no combat, no like adventure shit. I'm a civilian. All right. It's insane how peaceful it was. I could not believe how like lost genuinely that I was getting in that immersion, and just how much fun I was having not playing the game. Well, I mean, that is playing the game. The reason that all those features are in there is so that, hey, if you want to do that, you can. But it's like obeying traffic laws in Grand Theft Auto. That's not fun to me. But for some reason, chopping wood for 2 hours and like barely making enough to get by. And then I'm like going city to city. I went to Solitude because I'm like, well, the Civil War is going on. Maybe my guy becomes a blacksmith and he's an arms dealer for the Imperial Army or something like that. And then I was like, but then I don't even have the money to get all of the necessary materials to even start this. I'm like, this is hard. So then I go to Windhelm. I'm like, maybe I'll just join the Stormcloaks. I didn't do that. So then at that point, I'm wasting gold on the carriage, and I'm like, dog, time is money. So every time I went to a different city, it was like I had to chop enough wood to pay for enough food and for essentially to cover the gold that it took me to even get there in the first place. Oh my God, it's exhausting, but it's so engaging. It's so engaging, especially in survival mode. You really got to be on top of stuff. You know what I mean? Oh man, so much fun. But okay, folks. Alrighty. Football games this weekend. Colorado State, Colorado. That's happening this weekend. What's the kid's name? The quarterback. He's my favorite quarterback in the country right now. Braden Fowler Nicolosi, that's him, right? That kid's a freak. One of those quarterbacks that you love to watch because he's just a college quarterback. That's it. He's just a fun college quarterback. You're not expecting it. There's no pressure on him. He was really fun last year. I think he's even more fun this year. I'm keeping an eye on that game, keeping a real close eye on that game. On Sunday, by the time you listen to this, Bills Dolphins, that's the Thursday night game, right? Be watching that. Not obviously doing a review on it. This is being taped before that game. Sunday, Chiefs Bengals. Huh? Wow, we're jumping right into the season, huh? Is this the first time that those two teams have played since the playoffs? Was that a year and a half ago? Was that the game where it was a late hit out of bounds, right? That's what that was. Did that send them to the Super? Maybe. Is this the first time they've played since that game? Cincinnati's got to be in trouble, right? Was week 1 a fluke? Was the Pats game a total fluke on Cincinnati's end? Oh, they didn't have T. Higgins. Cool. The fuck? They had Joe Burrow and they had Jamar Chase. What happened? You know what I mean? We'll see. Alrighty, folks. Oh, and then obviously the Lions Bucks. Michigan State's got like fucking Prairie Valley A&M, some bullshit tune-up game this week. Thank God, because Boston College is going to drop us off next week. Alrighty, folks. If you are listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars. If you are listening to this on YouTube, sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.
Beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control.